Today, we are looking at the best settings you should be using to get the highest quality photos possible from your iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max. Here is just a few of the images I have captured with my iPhone over the past few weeks across Northern Ireland, and I am just blown away by what's possible with a phone camera these days. So let's go through the settings I have been using and recommend, along with a few tips and tricks for getting more unique images, and then at the end of this video, we will do a quick editing walkthrough on Lightroom Mobile. Let's jump right in. Let's dive straight into the settings menu and take a look at the settings I recommend you should be using to get the highest quality images possible from your iPhone. So you want to select the settings icon and then scroll down until you see the camera option and tap into it. Now the first menu we are going to be looking at is the formats menu, and when you tap into this, you want to make sure high efficiency at the top is selected. When you are using this, your iPhone will be saving the files with a better compression efficiency. And this has the benefit of meaning the file sizes will be much smaller, meaning you can capture more photos and videos for the total storage of your iPhone. If you scroll down, you want to make sure photo mode is set to 24 megapixel, and then underneath this is the most important setting in my opinion, and that is Pro RAW and resolution control. Now you want to make sure this is turned on, and when you do this, you will see a new option appear underneath saying Pro Default. You want to tap into this and select Pro RAW Max. Now using Pro RAW will allow your iPhone to capture RAW images, which have a wider dynamic range and have more data in them, giving you much more flexibility when editing them in an image editor. Using Pro RAW also strips any of the post-processing Apple does to its standard images, so you won't get any over-sharpening and will get a much more natural looking baseline image to start your edit with. By choosing Pro RAW Max, this is the largest resolution available, so you can capture up to 48 megapixel images, which will be good if you need to crop your image in, maybe you need to recenter a subject, or if you want to print your images. Now it's worth noting the 48 megapixel only applies to the main camera, the 1x24mm. If you capture images with the other lenses, these are saved in RAW at 12 megapixel, which still looks really good. So that's everything for the formats menu, so let's tap back to the main camera settings menu. Now the next menu we want to tap into is the preserve settings menu, and what these options allow you to do is to have the camera app remember any adjustments you made to it, so that when you close it down and open it back up, it doesn't forget any of the adjustments you have made. This is super useful, and I don't really know why these aren't on by default. So you want to turn camera mode on, creative controls on, depth control on, macro control on, exposure adjustment on, so if you make any adjustments to the exposure, the camera app won't forget them, night mode on, portrait zoom on, action mode on, Pro RAW and resolution control on, that's super important, so that we're always capturing raw images with our iPhone. Apple ProRes is more to do with video, which we aren't covering today, but you might as well turn this on, live photo on, and spatial video on. Now just quickly, if you're getting value from this video, please let me know by giving me the thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. And if you love all things iPhone 15 Pro, but also action cameras, drones, gimbals and more, and want to learn about the best settings to get up and running quickly, along with tips and tricks to help you get more cinematic videos and better looking images with your gear, then please consider subscribing by clicking that subscribe button down below. And when you're down there, be sure to check the notification bell so that you will be alerted when my new videos are released. It would be greatly appreciated. Going back to the main camera settings, under the heading Composition, you want to turn Grid on and Level on. Now if you go to the camera app, you will see these grid lines have been superimposed over the image preview. And these are super useful for making sure your subject is centered in the frame, and for using things like the rule of thirds. By turning on Level on the other hand, you will see this little level appear on the center of the image, and this is super useful for making sure that your image is level. Back in the settings menu, you want to make sure mirror front camera is off. When this is turned on and you're using the front selfie camera, it will actually mirror the image, which means if there is text in your photo, this will appear the wrong way around. So we don't want that, so make sure mirror front camera is off. Scrolling down, you will see an option called Photographic Styles, and this customizes how the camera captures photos. It's not something I really use. I like to make my adjustments in another editing app, and also these aren't applied to ProRAW images. So because that's the format we will be using, I don't change this setting. Under the main camera menu, I just leave these set as their default values. Then underneath this, an option I highly recommend turning off is prioritize faster shooting. When this is turned on, if you rapidly start taking photos, pressing that shutter button quickly, the iPhone will automatically start to lower the image quality so it can save the images to its storage faster. So because we don't want the iPhone to degrade the image quality in any way, I recommend turning this off. Below this, you want to keep lens correction on, and then an option I highly recommend turning on is macro control. Now the iPhone's ultra-wide camera allows for extreme close-up images, also known as macro photos, and this is great for seeing textures in amazing detail or for capturing very small subjects such as bugs and flowers. Now the way this works is whenever you bring your phone within 14 centimeters of a subject, it will automatically switch to that ultra-wide camera and change into macro mode. But if you're trying to frame an image, this popping on and off that macro mode can be quite annoying. So by turning on this macro control option, whenever you bring your phone within 14 centimeters of a subject, when it changes into macro mode, you will see this small yellow flower icon appear on the bottom left of the screen. And when you tap this and it becomes grey, now when you move your phone close to a subject or away from a subject, it won't automatically change into macro mode and you won't get that annoying popping effect happen as it changes between these modes. So that's the camera settings. Let's now jump over to the camera app itself, as there's a few options within this camera app that I recommend you change. Now when you open the camera app, you will see a new icon on the top right of the screen saying RAW Max, and when you tap this you can turn on or off ProRAW images, but you can also press and hold this to change between the three options. So if you're capturing images of something and you don't think you will need the max resolution, you could actually change this down to ProRAW 12 megapixels, and this means that you will save some storage on your phone as them files will be smaller. Now if you press and swipe up on the screen, not a lot of people know this, but it will actually reveal more options along the bottom of the camera app. And the first option is for our flash. I recommend turning this off as I don't like how it makes the images look when capturing photos at nighttime. The next option is for night mode, and this takes multiple images at different exposures automatically at night so that you get more detail in your images and they are brighter. Now I recommend setting this to auto as it does a fantastic job. The next option is for live photo. Now something that's very important to be aware of is whenever you're capturing ProRAW images, live photos are disabled. So if you want to capture a live photo, maybe you're capturing an event or a birthday party and you want to save that live photo memory, then you can tap this icon and set it to on. But just be aware that this is turning off ProRAW images. So when you do want to start capturing the highest quality images possible again, make sure to turn ProRAW back on. The next setting is for our aspect ratio, and I recommend leaving this set to 4:3. Whenever you select square or 16:9, this just crops in on that 4:3 image. So to get the highest resolution possible, I recommend leaving this set to 4:3. The next option is our exposure control, and I recommend changing this. By default, whenever you're capturing photos outdoors on a bright sunny day, there are scenarios where you can get overexposed highlights. Maybe parts of your sky are blown out or appear white, and so changing this down to -0.3 can help prevent that from happening by ever so slightly exposing your image slightly darker. You can also set a timer here, that would be good for group photos. And lastly, you can apply image filters. But I leave this set to original, as again I don't recommend using these. Now before we get into a quick editing walkthrough on Lightroom Mobile, I want to give you a quick tip that will help you get more unique images when you're capturing photos with your iPhone. And that is to use an effect called background compression. And you can achieve this by using the telecamera. Because of a combination of the telecamera and phone to subject distance, this can make distant objects look larger than they actually are. And as a result, it gives the appearance that the background has pulled in closer to the subject, and this allows you to get more unique images. Just take a look at this example. Look how much larger and closer that background subject looks on the 5x telecamera compared to the 1x camera. So if you want to spice your images up a bit, then don't be afraid to use that telecamera to achieve some background compression. So let's now jump into Lightroom Mobile, which in my opinion is the best mobile app for editing images. It's also free, so if you don't have it already, then go ahead and download it. So here we have an image that I have imported into Lightroom, and this is how the image looks before I have edited it in any way. So this was taken at a location called Ballintoy Harbour in Northern Ireland, and it was taken with the 5x telecamera on the iPhone 15 Pro Max to get that background compression we talked about. Now this photo already looks pretty good, but there are a few simple tweaks we can do to make the image pop, and I do these tweaks with every image I capture. So the first thing we want to do is make sure the profile is set correctly to Apple ProRAW. So you want to swipe along on this toolbar at the bottom of the app, press the profiles icon, and then you want to make sure this is set to Apple ProRAW. Now the first thing I like to do is to increase the saturation of my images. I like to have my photos be quite vibrant. So I'm going to press the color icon, and then I'm going to scroll down and increase the vibrance and saturation until I like the look of the image. Now the next thing I like to do is increase the shadows. So I'm going to press the light icon, I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to increase these shadows quite a bit. Just look how much detail this brings out in the image. Now by doing that, it has washed out the blacks. So to bring the blacks back down, I'm going to increase the contrast, again, just until I like how the image looks. Now, if we do a before and after, you can see this is already looking miles better. But now we're going to go across to the effects icon, and we want to use the dehaze slider. Now by increasing this, it's going to apply more contrast to them hills in the background just to make them stand out a little bit more. Now here's a top tip and something I recommend doing, especially if you like more natural looking images that aren't over sharpened, and that is to decrease the clarity slider. Now although this doesn't directly affect the sharpness of the image, it can help to soften the edges a bit and remove that digital look. Lastly, I like to mask the sky to make a few specific edits to the sky only. Now, the great thing about Lightroom is it can mask the sky out automatically. So you want to press the mask icon here, then you want to press this plus icon and then choose select sky, and Lightroom will automatically mask the sky out. Now I like to decrease the highlights just a tiny bit to bring a little bit of detail back in the clouds. And I also like to decrease the color temperature just a touch to bring out the blue in the sky. And that's it. And now if you look at the before and after of this image, just look at how much difference there is. Now this is just my style and how I like to edit my images. Maybe you don't like quite so much saturation in yours, but the nice thing with the ProRAW images is you have all that data to play with, and you can tweak your images in Lightroom to your own personal preferences. So let's now take a look at one more photo. Now this one I took with the iPhone in this small cave looking outwards towards me standing on this beach. And again, I'm very happy with this image, but I think doing a few tweaks on Lightroom can again make it pop. And I'm going to use the exact same process. So I'm first going to increase the vibrance and saturation. Then I'm again going to increase the shadows just to bring out some of the detail on the rock faces on either side of the image here. Again, this starts to make the image look a little washed out, so I'm just going to increase the contrast to a level I think looks good. Now I'm going to go to effects and increase dehaze, and I'm doing it this time just to increase the saturation and contrast in the sky part of the image. I'm also going to bring down that clarity again just to soften the image up a little bit to remove some of that over sharpened look, especially around them rock faces. It was looking a little bit too sharp. And then I'm again going to press the mask icon, press the plus button, choose select sky so that Lightroom will automatically mask the sky. And again, I'm going to lower the highlights just to bring out more detail in them clouds. And lastly, I'm going to decrease the temperature of the sky just a tiny bit to bring out the blue in the sky. And that's it. So again, if we take a look at the before, so this is how the image looked with no tweaks. and after, so this is how the image looks after we have applied them changes, you can see this makes a massive difference to the image. So all that's left is for you to head out with your iPhone 15 Pro and Pro Max and capture some amazing images with it. And I really hope that this guide has helped you get up and running quickly, along with figuring out what settings you should use for the best results. Now before you go, if you liked this video and you learned something new, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up and clicking that like button down below. And if you love all things iPhone 15 Pro, but also action cameras, drones, gimbals and more, then I recommend you check out my channel where I have a ton of other content to help you get better results with your camera gear. If you don't want to miss any of my upcoming videos, then please remember to click that subscribe button down below, and when you're down there, make sure to check the notification bell so that you will be alerted when my new videos are released. It would be greatly appreciated. And if you want to stick around and watch a few more now, here's a few I personally recommend. I'll not keep you back any further. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you over there.